Hello, my name is David Plylar, and welcome to Concerts from the Library of Congress. I'm here with members of the Quatuor Van Kuijk, and they are here to speak with me about their program that they're presenting in the Great Hall of the Library of Congress. We had a flood in the Coolidge Auditorium that pushed us out of that venue into something completely new. So please join me in welcoming our guests from afar. And it's such a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I thought maybe what we could do is just talk a bit about this wonderful program that you put together for us, and maybe just say a few things about each piece. And so the first piece on the program is a new work. I think that this will be the US premiere of it by Benjamin Attahir. Excellent. Maybe you can tell me a bit about, this is a very interesting composer. I've listened to, I've been kind of getting to know his music a bit since you programmed it, but maybe you can say what it's like, your experience with it so far as a string quartet.
So yeah, this piece of Benjamin is very interesting. So it's called Al Dikra, which means a prayer, and it starts with this unison of the string quartet. So it's very powerful. We can really hear all the things of a string quartet, the unison, the energy, and then there's a lot of Oriental influences also in his music, and it's very intense. There's a fugue, which is about 4 pages, and you have this feeling of something building, increases the energy, and then when it's released, you just have this feeling of 4 pages in your head, and then it releases, and it's very strong.
Wow, wow. So how long have you had this piece? Have you performed it elsewhere?
Yes, I think the premiere was in Paris 1 year ago for the Biennale of the String Quartet. And then we premiered it, we played it for the first time in Germany in the Berlin Concert House a few weeks ago. And we recently also performed it in Milano.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Do you play a lot of contemporary music? I know that your discography is mostly Mozart and Mendelssohn and things like that, but is this something that you see yourselves doing more of, or?
Every year we command a piece, because I think it's also our job to make the music of today more alive, and so to give opportunities to composers to compose. So yes, it's very important.
I think we don't play that much contemporary music. It's not because we don't like it. It's mostly because we usually have many projects, like the Mendelssohn cycle, like the French music, and that takes us a lot of time. And maybe we don't have enough time to focus on contemporary music. And also the other reason is probably because we love to work with living composers. And it's kind of expensive to command some pieces, and so we do it only once a year. But it's each time a very great opportunity to work deeply with a living composer and to do a good job.
I think that's a wonderful attitude to have. I mean, that's nice that you keep that as part of what you do. This program that you put together for us is remarkable because, I mean, for a number of reasons that I'm sure we're going to hear in the concert itself, but we basically have 3 sets of transcriptions for string quartet. And first, maybe we could speak about the Debussy. It's a transcription of a piece that's originally for a 4-hand duet and the Petite Suite. And is this, maybe you could say something about it. It's a wonderful piece. I know it in the 4-hand version, but I haven't heard it in the quartet version. So.
Yeah, it's actually a piece I love for many, many years. And of course, I know the 4-hands version, and also I played it in orchestra. Also, you know the orchestration by Blusser. I don't remember his name. And I really love this piece, and especially the orchestral version, because it's full of color, and it's a delight. And I really wanted to play it as a string quartet. So that's why I decided to make a transcription.
That's wonderful.
Transcription of this piece.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, have you done many transcriptions like this before?
Personally, I did some transcriptions, but not necessarily for a string quartet, because I teach also the viola, so I made some transcriptions for my students for 2 violas, 3, 4 violas, this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's
But
wonderful.
not for a string quartet, except one piece I wrote many years ago for it's a folk music piece. I arranged for a string quartet because I'm from Auvergne, like Anthony. Auvergne is in the middle of France. It's
Okay.
an area in the middle of France, and is a specialist in bourrée, which is a kind of dance, and that's a piece.
Oh, wonderful. You know, and one of the things about that set that, I mean, I don't know if this was, did you do that before you did the rest of the sets? Because it's one of the movements of the Debussy is based on a song of his, the Fête Galante, I think, from an early song of Debussy. And it fits so well with the rest of the melody transcriptions that are in the set. So it seemed like a very natural fit, kind of from that perspective too. Then the minuet, I think it's the minuet movement that was based on that. But
Actually, I think it started. We decided to choose the pieces we love, and remember it was in a mer. We were around the swimming pool, and we were talking about our next projects, and we were talking about this project, which was kind of important for us. And we were all talking and all proposing some pieces. And so we had a huge amount of pieces, and we had to select, and it was an interesting discussion, I remember.
Yeah, because the first point of this project was that we realized that Debussy, Fauré, Ravel, we love these composers, and they represent France also a lot with this great period, and they just wrote 1 string quartet each, so we feel a bit like we like there's more.
right.
So that was our idea, maybe to bring more pieces from them, and that's why we chose some melodies and some piano pieces to make it a bit more,
So did you commission the transcriptions? Is that how that came about?
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
And I think that the choice, I think that the next set, after the Debussy, is the Poulenc set, right? And there's a number of kind of famous songs in there, but also some ones that, they're just beautiful. They're really wonderful pieces that mostly he had such a long career in terms of when he was writing those. I think it was a very long period that he was writing them, but I think that these particular ones are mostly from parts of the Second World War and into, I think, up 1950, I think is the latest one. But how did you feel about how they turned out for string quartet? Did it feel like a good?
It's very, very, very fun to play. There's a lot of cabaret also, for example, with the Chemin de l'Amour, which was written for a famous cabaret singer in France.
Yeah, she was also an actress. Yvonne Printemps.
That's wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's right. The one. Which song was it?
The Chemin de l'Amour.
Okay, right. And that was part of a incidental music, right, for a larger play, I think. And is that? Maybe that's not true.
Maybe,
I don't know.
Probably you know better than us.
What's interesting about Poulenc melodies, it's very free. When you see the score, you see that there is many possibilities for the musician, and you can do many things, and you feel very free in this music, and that's interesting because you can be as imaginative as possible.
Yeah, and I think there's a book by Pierre Bernard that is about his, all the songs of Poulenc, and he makes a wonderful statement at the beginning, which is, I'll butcher it, but I'll paraphrase it to say that his harmony may be that of everybody, but it's the way that he does it is it's him right away when you're listening to it.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely comes through as I got to know these songs better, just in that way. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the string quartet versions, because I'm a big fan of transcription, and I think it's a wonderful way to enhance the repertoire, like you're talking about.
Yeah, and apparently he wrote a string quartet, but he burned it.
Oh no.
So yes,
Composers are their own worst enemies, I think, sometimes. That's awful to hear.
Too much exigence.
Yeah. Yeah, one has to be, that's actually, anyway, that's, I think, the last group that you have in this collection that we're going to hear tonight, Fauré, is kind of considered to be one of the great masters of French songwriting. And so how did you go about, was this the same was it at the same pool situation where you came up with the which songs to choose? That's wonderful. I love that you all knew all these songs so well that you could just talk about them.
I mean, we said we're going to be looking for French melodies or pieces. Mm-hmm. So we spent maybe a few days before each of us on Spotify or whatever, just to listen an amount of, and then this one is very special, I like it, and then do you know this one? And it's the talk, and
That's wonderful. And these, I mean, they're very. It's very interesting to listen to them side to side with the Poulenc because they're very modern in a kind of a way that you don't expect from, if you know, say, his early piano music or something like that. It's not something that you might expect to hear if you don't know his vocal writing and whatnot. But in many ways, these are kind of the quintessential romantic or late 19th century songs.
Fauré. That's what is I like about this project is that all these composers, they really have a signature. Mm-hmm. And you cannot be wrong, you cannot hesitate between Poulenc, Fauré, or Debussy. It's so clear.
Right.
Yeah, they all have their universe.
Well, we were talking earlier, just before we started before we got started in this conversation, you had mentioned that this is part of a larger project that is going to involve other composers as well. Can you say a bit about that? Like the other, what other French song?
So it's a composer and a jazzman pianist called Baptiste Trottignon. I played one of his pieces maybe 6 years ago, and I really liked it because it's very rhythmical, but also with a very good sense of the melody and the line. And so we asked him if he was feeling okay with the idea of introducing the composers of our cycle of melodies, and he thought this idea was good. So now we're just waiting for what is going to coming up.
That's wonderful. So you'll have the three composers that we're presenting tonight, but who are the other two more? Is it Ravel and
Satie?
And Satie. Okay.
So basically, we're going to play 5 different composers, and Baptiste Trottignon is about to compose a piece in 5 movements, and each movement will be a kind of homage to a composer.
That's exciting. That'll be a nice. And so this project is it's coming in the midst of a larger project that you're working on, which is the Mendelssohn cycle, right? So are you doing that before you get to Volume 2, or you?
Volume 2 is going to be released on the 24th of February.
Oh, fantastic!
So
that's
very soon.
Yeah, wonderful. That's very exciting. We're so the end of our program. I mean, of course, I'm very interested. I'll be looking forward to hearing that full recording that has those kind of interpolated works as well as the other transcriptions. But our program that we're going to be hearing at the library features the final string quartet of Mendelssohn. And the Library of Congress has a lot of Mendelssohn manuscripts and letters and things like that in its collection. We don't have a string quartet, though, unfortunately. We wish, but we do have the octet, the version that he finished when he was 16. It's one of the few. I mean, he made some different.
You have the manuscript.
We have the manuscript, yeah, and so he made some changes to it later. But it's a rare case where we have that early version of what he was thinking. So that's we're very happy to have that and be able to show that to people. But in any case, we're talking at the opposite end of his life. So this is I think actually he finished it just a few months before he passed away, and. It's a very intense work, and I'm wondering if you could just say, is this a piece that you've lived with for a long time, or is this relatively new to you? How much have you played this work, or has it been a part of what you've done?
Yeah, I think we used to play it many years ago, and then we started again to play it for the Mendelssohn cycle, and it felt good to be back to this piece years ago, because when we came back to this piece, we had already performed the other string quartets. So it felt like the end of a cycle, and we were fed with all of this music and all of these string quartets by Mendelssohn, and it felt that we were at the end of the road in a way, and that we could really understand Mendelssohn language, and yeah.
And you can really also feel that this one is different from the other one. It has really this, like you say, this violence and this feeling of end that you don't have usually in Mendelssohn music.
Yeah, and I wonder if, I mean, everybody says this, but just the effect of his sister's death is probably one of the things that really spurred him to write it. I mean, not that he needed anything to encourage him to write because he was so prolific, but yeah, I think that there's something raw about it, something that's really a very powerful piece. But all of his quartets, I think, are wonderful. So I'm so pleased that you're doing them and having those come out so soon. That's wonderful. And the first volume came out in 2020. Is that right, or just recently?
A few months ago.
A few months ago, yes, that's right.
Last October.
And the previous, you had a Mozart quintet cycle, a group of quintets, viola quintets, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful. And what kinds of things do you imagine that you might be doing after this kind of French song-inspired CD? Do you imagine that, or recorded? I don't know if people even release the CDs.
We have a lot of discussions about this, and it's not settled yet.
Not settled. Okay.
Maybe finish the Mozart cycle of
yeah,
the
well,
Haydn.
this
might
be also Dvorak piano quintets, the two quintets, we don't know yet.
Yeah, we discovered the first Dvorak quintet because the second one is always played.
Right.
And we didn't even knew there was a first quintet, and it's very, very good too.
Oh, wonderful! Oh, that's great. So, I mean, it's great that you're bringing music that is maybe understood in a different context or not as well known in this sort of way, forward. In addition to putting forward these kind of, these great works that. I mean, I don't think that Mendelssohn always had the highest reputation as he should have had with his quartets until, maybe I guess the last 50 years or so he's gotten it done well. But that's wonderful.
Yeah, because people say it's a bit too talky and not depth enough, but I think it's just a matter about how you read his music and you understand it. And also there's a lot of technical challenge in, for example, the Opus 40. They are very challenging, so maybe also it's part of...
44.
44, yeah, sorry.
I mean, it seems like since he was able to play himself, there'd be at least he'd be given some deference to say that he knew what he was doing pretty well. And but in any case, that's wonderful. Is there anything else that you'd like to say about the program, about what's coming up for you?
Maybe just a few words about the instruments.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is one of the reasons which make this place also so special, because I mean, I played the cello, which is the Stradivarius from 1697, called the Castel Borca.
Castel Barco, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I never felt this kind of power and depth in some of the lowest notes, like the E and the E flat are just mind-blowing. I was just like, what is going?
That's wonderful. Yeah. And are you enjoying the viola?
Yeah, the viola is good as well, but it's very Stradivarius in a way that he was a very, very, of course, good maker for violins and also for cellos. He's less famous for violas, but this viola has very interesting sound, especially on the high register. So the A string is very good. Yeah, the C string is not that good, but still good.
Right, it's okay. The quality is Stradivarius. I thank you for bringing that up, because I probably would have lost my job after if I had neglected to say something about those. So I do appreciate that. But thank you so much for speaking with me today. And we're looking forward to the concert that you'll be seeing this talk later, but the concert's on February 8th in the Great Hall. And so thanks again.
Thank you.